just when we thought it was all over, a summer full of retrogrades and eye-opening eclipses, we find ourselves on the threshold of Venus retrograde, right here, right now. Venus entered her shadow just this past Labor Day weekend, so we might have gotten a clue because, the shadow phase is basically the degree that she will retrograde back to in time. But she's not retrograde yet, but she's at that degree. And so we're kind of getting a little knock at the door, a little tap on the shoulder that says, hey, keep this in mind. We're going to be working with this a little bit longer. And what's crazy about it is that the Venus retrograde is actually very intimately woven in and connected to the Mars retrograde story, which isn't quite over yet because Mars, although it has stationed direct, it is still in Capricorn. It has not re-entered Aquarius, and it has not cleared its shadow, which would be at about 9 degrees of Aquarius. So we still have some time till that's done. Basically, 2018 is a year of recalibrating our lives. And it is a year like this where you have a Mars retrograde and a Venus retrograde intimately tied together, and Mercury too, as we'll see, that we should never underestimate the smaller planets, because even though in a day-to-day when, a Venus aspect isn't always life-changing, it's these retrogrades that can totally change our lives, because Venus and Mars have a lot to do with what we want, what we like, what we desire. And so these two are kind of working together to help us get very clear on our truest, deepest desires as we move into 2019. So I know that sounds like a long time away, but we are in the second half of 2018 and it already looks very different from here. I said at the beginning of the summer, take a look around, things are going to be a lot different. The eclipses showed us some things. Mars went retrograde. We had a chance to slow down and take action on things that we'd been waiting to take action on for a long time, but just needed that little push. And also for some of us, projects got stopped in their tracks and we had to figure out a new direction. So we're all moving in a slightly different direction, if not dramatically different direction than we were at the beginning of the summer. And now Venus comes in and it's time to help clarify some of this. Venus deals with our priorities, our preferences, our values, money, love, and relationships. You only have 24 hours in a day. How do you use it? Or you only have 7 days in a week. Which friends or family members do you make time for? Do you make time for yourself? And how? So these are our priorities. Our preferences. So apples over oranges, daisies over marigold. Venus retrograde turns up the volume of Venus. So anything that is beautiful will be even more beautiful. Something you might be perusing a store and you might be more likely to make an impulse buy because, it's just irresistible. I can't help myself. I must have that. So the only caution is if it's very impulsive, you want to be cautious. But say you've had your eye on that coat for a month or a year. Now is when you'll want to buy it because the volume is really turned up there. So priorities, and relationships, because relationships is going to be huge for this one because Venus will be spending her retrograde in the signs of Scorpio and Libra. And these are two very relationship-oriented signs because Libra is a sign that you meet the other. You're interacting with another person, you're sharing, they're your mirror, you're bouncing things off. It's an air sign, it's social. But where this really begins is in Scorpio. And everyone kind of shivers a little bit or goes, ooh, when they hear Scorpio because it is a deep and powerful sign. And unless you have planets in Scorpio or in the 8th house or in close aspect to Pluto, you don't even know. You don't even know the half of it, really. This is a very deep sign. It's where the riches are. It's people fear it because you can't see beneath the surface. But if you go digging in that mine, you just might find a cache of diamonds, okay? And that's really the work of Scorpio. And Venus in Scorpio is kind of a difficult placement, you know, if you were to ask average astrologer, but it can also be very potent. And Venus in Scorpio wants to hold on, wants to make it mine and never let go. And we're going to merge and we're going to go deep and we're going to explore uncharted territory of our psyche and our souls, and we're going to have the best sex ever. It's going to be transformative. It's going to be healing. It's going to be cosmic. So that is Venus in Scorpio. And so, but when we think about what true love is true love has no expectation, right? True love says, I honor you where you're at. But Venus in Scorpio says, I want to own you. I want to possess you. I kind of want to control you a little bit. I want you to think what I think. I want, you know, or I want to be submissive to you. It kind of has that quality there. So it can be a very sensual time. This might be a very fun time for people to explore some of those deeper fantasies that they have. This can be a time where you can really begin to build trust or address things that are getting in the way of that trust and intimacy. That's the whole other way that this can go, is you might realize that, oh, that's my pattern where I'm blocking myself from true intimacy because I have that fear or that anxiety, or I had that traumatic experience. So this can be a really potent time to revisit those traumatizing or wounding experiences that are blocking us from true, deep connection, meaningful connection, life-changing connection. Because, you know, Venus in Scorpio, when used properly or in a higher expression, it can be deeply transformative and really give you that glimpse of tantric soulmate merging. But first, we might have to use this as an opportunity to go revisit those experiences and bring more love to those experiences, bring more healing to those experiences. And it can also shed light on some of our toxic relationship patterns because, you know, Scorpio is a very psychic sign. And sometimes, you know, we all have Scorpio somewhere in our chart, but since it's so psychic, it sometimes projects without saying anything. And so sometimes if you find yourself getting in these repeat patterns, even though you're trying to break the pattern, it might still be in your energy field somewhere. And so you're still kind of attracting these same kind of karmic relationship patterns or whatever. But the thing that's important to know is that it's your stuff, not their stuff. You're the one kind of projecting it out and attracting these experiences, and you're going to keep repeating these experiences until you can heal it. So this can be a very potent time to heal. You know, Scorpio is a sign of shared resources, and Venus is a planet of money. So, you know, we could think about the question of where are we invested? Where are we invested emotionally, financially? Are we thinking of making a big purchase with somebody? You know, you share money with a partner that you might be married to. You share money with a bank if you are taking out a loan to buy something. So these are other terms of investment. Where are we invested in our time during the week, again, with our priorities? Venus goes in a cycle of 8 years. So the last time Venus went retrograde in Scorpio was 8 years ago. Think about that time. I know that was a pivotal time for me. It gave me a lot of insight into a relationship. It was kind of a heavier emotional time. But you can gain a lot of clarity into your deepest needs and desires in a relationship. When Venus goes retrograde on October 5th, 2018 at 3:04 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, she is at 10 degrees Scorpio and 50 minutes. So here we're already having a resonance of the 10 degree mark, because Mars went retrograde around 10 degrees. So if you have planets in the fixed signs at 10 degrees, they're really talking to you. So, on her way back, again, Mars is still squaring off with Uranus for the entire month of September, but Venus kind of reignites this square in early October. So Venus will square Mars and oppose Uranus. So here we have this interesting dynamic because Venus is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is that like, oh, I want to possess you, I want to merge you, I want you to be mine, I want to be yours only, and I want to hold on. And this Venus in Scorpio can be very seductive. It can be very kind of dark and mysterious, and it's just that type of love that is just like so deep and sometimes like a Venus and Scorpio relationship might be one of those rock star relationships where it's like a live fast, die young kind of relationship where it's like, we're going to go all in and then it's just going to be too intense and get away from me. So Venus and Scorpio is very, very intense. And at the same time, you have Mars and Uranus, which are freedom loving, you know, in their sign placements and everything. So they're wanting freedom, and Venus is wanting to hold on. So how do we mediate these energies will be the challenge. And so there's a couple ways we could go about this. Number one is saying like, I know I need to move in that direction. That will give me more freedom, but I'm having a really hard time letting go of this situation that I'm very emotionally involved in. So that could be one way. Another way is that, so Scorpio, even though I just named some of the expressions of Scorpio, the holding on and the intensity and the possessiveness, Scorpio can also be intensely transformative and healing. So what if we're meant to mediate the two energies by going deep and transforming whatever it is that's making us feel stuck, so that we can have more freedom in any situation? Because Venus in Scorpio, you know, don't forget that Jupiter's been in Scorpio for the last year. Upon Jupiter's entry into Scorpio, we had the Me Too movement, which triggered a very much needed and important collective conversation about consent when it comes to intimate encounters and sexual appropriateness. And we're still having that conversation, and it is well overdue. But so Venus going in retrograde into Scorpio might invite us to heal some of our trauma in relationships and in intimacy. So what is preventing us from connecting more fully? Venus retrograde in Scorpio might allow us to spend some time there so that maybe we find more freedom in our relationships because we are willing to more open up and heal the things that are keeping us kind of apart there. So find your Libra house and your Scorpio house. The other thing you want to do is look at your Taurus house, because Venus rules Taurus and Libra, but it's already in Libra. And then the other thing you want to look at is where your natal Venus lives. And you also want to look at any aspects that the Venus retrograde is doing. Is it conjoining any planets, opposing any planets? So you want to look at that and synthesize all those together, and you're going to get a really good idea of what you're going to be working with. But I would also take a look at where Mars has been for you. So you want to look at your Aries house, your Scorpio house, and then your Capricorn Aquarius houses to kind of synthesize these together. Where has Mars been working on and where is Venus working on? And when you put all that together, that's like your whole chart. We're getting a total makeover of our lives right now. Then the best part is that Venus trines Mars on November 9th. So remember, at the beginning of the retrograde, they were in a square, and that was friction. Now they're in a trine. Things are starting to flow a little bit more harmoniously now. Whatever changes we've made, whatever boundaries we've driven in, whatever changes we've made to our schedule or whatever, things seem to be flowing a little bit better now with Venus trine Mars. Then by the time Venus stations direct on November 15th, at 25 Libra, Mars has totally done with Aquarius after like being there all year, and it's moved on to Pisces. Mercury simultaneously changes retrograde. Remember, our last Mercury retrograde was with Mars, so now we're having another one. So right as Venus moves direct, Mercury's going backwards. And also by this time, Jupiter has entered Sagittarius, big deal. And the nodes, which cause our eclipses, have shifted into Cancer and Capricorn. Another big deal. So we can see that things look radically different by the time Venus stations direct. Good luck, and excited to see what the rest of our lives look like come December, because it is going to be very different and very cool.